It began the way most discoveries of profound significance do not but with a strange anomaly on a computer screen buried in a silent observatory high in the Chilean mountains. A flicker in the data, a glint of something unusual, something large, something persistent. For months, scientists at the European Southern Observatory had been tracking a small cluster of space debris following Earth's orbital trail. At first glance, it seemed unremarkable perhaps, just another fragment of rock from the countless pieces of cosmic dust that meandered through the solar system. But then, it changed course. Not dramatically, not in a way that screamed for headlines, but subtly. Too subtle for the average astronomer to notice, but not for Dr. Leanne Romero. Romero was known in astrophysical circles, not for flashy theories, but for her tireless obsession with orbital dynamics. She had an uncanny sense for motion, how planets, moons, and oddball interlopers moved through the grand cosmic ballet. She noticed that the object, originally labeled QH4473, was not merely drifting, it was following, matching Earth's trajectory with an eerie precision, as if tethered invisibly to our path around the sun. It kept its distance, like a predator testing its prey's awareness, or a ghost echoing footsteps in the dark. At first, she doubted her findings. She ran simulations, fed satellite data through her own proprietary orbital mechanics software, checked gravitational influences from the Moon, the Sun, and even distant Jupiter. Nothing could explain the consistency. No known asteroid or natural satellite behaved like this, not in 4.5 billion years of Earth's history. What she was seeing was unprecedented, so she reached out quietly, carefully, to a small network of trusted colleagues, people she knew would investigate the truth before dismissing it. Within weeks, observatories in Japan, Hawaii, and Australia were all tracking QH4473. Each confirmed the same haunting fact: it was shadowing Earth at a fixed distance, approximately 14 million kilometers behind in what appeared to be a dynamically stable Lagrange point. But the mass estimates didn't add up. It was too dense, too controlled. Natural rocks didn't behave this way. The light it reflected was off. Spectroscopic analysis suggested a metallic component, but it wasn't the common iron-nickel blend of most meteorites. This object had a polished albedo. It was reflecting light more efficiently, almost intentionally. By the time NASA and ESA held their first closed-door joint meeting on the subject, QH4473 had gone from asteroidal anomaly to a top-level classified priority. Security protocols were tightened. Public data feeds from certain telescopes went down for maintenance. News channels speculated about new satellites, debris fields, even alien conspiracies, but nothing concrete surfaced. It was too soon, too strange, too terrifying, because by the third month of observation, something else had become painfully clear. QH4473 was not just following Earth. It was maneuvering. Unlike a moon or asteroid caught in the grip of gravity, this object made minor course corrections that could not be explained by celestial mechanics. It would drift slightly closer, then return. It would shift position at times when Earth passed near major solar flares, as if reacting or shielding itself. The first hard evidence came from JAXAS, Deep Space Probe height, which captured long-range imagery suggesting structural complexity, a silhouette unlike any natural body, a smooth edge, a taper, and what appeared to be a protrusion akin to an antenna. That's when the whisper networks ignited. Across military installations, deep space, monitoring arrays, and private aerospace firms, the term extraterrestrial surveillance re-entered serious conversation. Not on conspiracy forums, but in boardrooms, in war rooms, and in the midnight emails of the world's most brilliant minds. But while scientists and strategists scrambled to make sense of the data, the public remained largely unaware. That changed on a cloudless night in early May, when amateur astronomer Jenna Brooks, live streaming from her telescope setup in Nevada, caught a brief but undeniable flash of reflected light from the object. Within hours, her clip went viral. "Something's following Earth," she tweeted, her feed exploding with speculation. UFO hunters descended. Theories multiplied. Was it an alien ship? A secret weapon? A new planet? Mainstream outlets dismissed it as lens flare. But those in the know could no longer keep it quiet. The object was too big, possibly kilometers in diameter. Too coordinated. Romero watched the chaos unfold with a mix of anxiety and vindication. She knew what came next: government confirmation, scrambled military operations, orbital asset launches, and then perhaps, worst of all, public fear. But even she wasn't prepared for what followed. On June 2nd, the object pulsed. It wasn't a flare, not a reflection. It was a sustained emission radio signals, faint but patterned. A narrowband frequency burst captured simultaneously by two independent satellites. Encoded, not random, the pulses matched no known natural process. And when decrypted loosely using heuristic algorithms, they resembled prime numbers. The language of mathematics. the universal signature of intelligence. The world changed in 17 seconds. The official channels responded first. NASA held a hastily arranged press conference. White House spokespeople gave cryptic, vague reassurance. No threat detected. Standard scientific analysis underway. But the tremor had been felt. The idea had taken root. We were not alone, and something out there not a million miles away, but just behind us, riding our coattails through space, was watching. Speculation exploded. Why follow us? Why now? Were they hiding? Studying? Planning? Dr. Romero found herself in the uncomfortable spotlight. Her name leaked as the first to identify the object's behavior. Interviews poured in. She declined most. What could she say that didn't sound like science fiction? But behind the scenes, she and her team began to dig deeper into the signal, and what they found chilled them. Buried in the data was a waveform anomaly that, when converted to audio and slowed down, resembled tonal patterns almost like a song. The melody was simple, haunting, like a lullaby echoing across the stars. Not human, but deliberate, designed, perhaps, to be understood or remembered. Suddenly, Earth's history felt different. Ancient myths of watchers in the sky, divine beings descending in firework, these archetypes born from memory. Could early civilizations have glimpsed this object before? Was it new or returning? Across the globe, people turned eyes skyward. In times of uncertainty, humans looked to the heavens, but this time, the heavens were looking back. By the end of the summer, a new designation had been given. Not QH4473, not anomaly, but a name, asterisk asterisk the Sentinel.
The Sentinel did not speak again. Not with pulses, not with radio, not with light. For 32 days it remained quiet, hovering in Earth's orbital wake, a silent observer shadowing our planet like a mirror in the dark. And yet its very silence screamed louder than any message, because now the world knew it was there. Panic didn't come all at once. It trickled in, coiled like a wire inside the hearts of those paying attention. It started with the scientists, those who understood orbital mechanics, signal transmission, and energy outputs. The ones who knew how far away the Sentinel was, and how easy it would be for something that massive to shift from a trailing position into an intercept course. Didn't matter that it hadn't moved in aggression. It only mattered that it could, that we had no way of stopping it. Governments scrambled to maintain calm, deployed satellites closer to the object. They launched unmanned probes, veiled as planetary climate instruments. But everyone in the intelligence community knew what they really were, eyes and ears to get as close as possible to whatever was out there. The Sentinel responded to none of them. It let them drift past like gnats around a sleeping giant. Not because it couldn't act, because it chose not to. In the middle of all this, a new figure stepped into the narrative. "We're looking at an intelligence that understands restraint," he said during one briefing. Romero watched from her lab in Germany, her eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights, her mind replaying every frame of data, every signal pulse, every faint glimmer of light captured from the Sentinel. She didn't believe it was here to harm us, but that didn't mean we weren't in danger. It was around this time that civilian observations began to shift. The public's fascination with the Sentinel turned from curiosity to obsession. Amateur astronomers formed networks across Reddit and Twitter, feeding real-time updates through crowdsourced software that mapped the object's movements. Artists painted renditions. Musicians remixed the radio signal pulse into beats. The object was no longer just a mystery, it was a cultural phenomenon. Humanity had found its shadow. Then, something changed. From the ancient carvings in Bolivia to the Dogon tribe of Mali, from the petroglyphs of the Anasazi to the Sumerian epics, tales of star beings who followed the Earth began making rounds in academic circles once more, not as myth but as possible memory. Could the Sentinel have been here before? Had it watched us rise from the mud, build fire, shape language, and reach for the stars? In the Vatican archives, translations of old Aramaic texts hinted at a watcher in the firmament, a celestial being whose eyes do not close. In the Tibetan mountains, lamas recalled oral traditions of the sky chariot that guards the blue jewel. Across continents, cultures separated by oceans and millennia, all echoed the same image: something above. This time, the signal came not through radio, but through gravity. Subtle shifts in Earth's magnetosphere were detected, pulses timed to align with seismic resonance frequencies. Scientists were baffled. Was it attempting to communicate with the Earth itself? As insane as it sounded, the waveforms matched certain harmonic intervals found in tectonic plate resonance and, astonishingly, in brainwave IG readings. Romero worked with neuroscientists, linguists, and cryptographers, trying to make sense of the phenomenon. The working theory: the Sentinel wasn't using language, it was using emotion. Vibrational fields tuned to evoke feeling, wonder, awe, fear, calm. Primitive, primal signals bypassing logic and going straight to instinct. And it worked. Across the world, people reported strange dreams, shared symbols, sense of being watched, but not with malice, with curiosity, like something vast and ancient had just leaned down to peer into our eyes and ask, in silence, "Are you ready?" In Nairobi, a child drew a picture of a black oval with a ring of fire around it. He said it sings to the ground. In Brazil, an elderly man claimed to have seen the object in a dream he remembered having as a child in the 1940s. In Shanghai, a woman wrote symphonies overnight that mirrored the signal pulses with uncanny precision, never having studied music in her life. Something was happening not just out there, but in here. In our consciousness, in the human mind. And then, the final drop of pretense fell. On August 15th, the Sentinel moved. Not a minor course correction, but a subtle drift. It accelerated. From 14 million kilometers behind Earth, it increased velocity slowly, smoothly, aligning not with Earth's position but with its direction. It was no longer content to follow. It was catching up. The implications were terrifying. Panic flared across nations. Military forces went to DEFCON 2. Satellites were redirected. The ISS crew was briefed on evacuation procedures. The message was clear. Contact was imminent. But then, as the Sentinel closed the distance, it stopped again, this time, just 4 million kilometers away. For the first time, its surface rotated, revealing a lattice of panels and structures too perfect, too symmetrical, to be anything but artificial. Lights faint, blue, pulsing ran in patterns across its hull, like circuits, like veins. This was the moment that every human on Earth, in some small way, had dreamed of, feared, or denied. And yet, no signal came, no voice, no sound. Just presence, watching, waiting, like a teacher standing before a classroom of children to see who would speak first. For the first time in history, representatives from 198 nations drafted a single message, short, simple statement in binary code. We acknowledge your presence. We seek understanding. We are listening. It was broadcast across all known frequencies, from radio to optical to quantum entanglement, to ensure no method was left untried. A sustained vibration that shook no buildings, but stirred something deeper and echo through the magnetosphere. The oceans, even the bones of those tuned in,